Well, good evening, everyone. Good evening. It's great to be here this afternoon, and I appreciate the time to give me the opportunity to be able to speak on our bond this November 4th, and talk a little bit about the importance of this vote and the resources that this will provide for our kids in all of our schools and our teachers, and at the end of the day, to be able to benefit not only our school district but also our community. So again, I'm Ignacio Ruiz, Superintendent for Las Cruces Public Schools, and we'll go ahead and get into the presentation. I'd like to start off in pointing out first our logo that was created by our committee with input from our bond committee, and which I'll speak on in a little bit. But what I would like to do is get into this piece here, and as you can see on the logo here, two things that I wanted to point out. The first thing, and I'll speak a little bit more about this, is the fact that this bond and this GO bond ask will not increase in the tax rate, the current tax rate that we have right now. So I wanted to point that out. The next piece is, as we go through all this information, and you'll see the benefits and the benefit that this provides for our kiddos and our school district, is that it's our kids, your choice, and their future, and it really comes down to that, to ensure that our kids have quality, innovative learning experiences throughout their educational career. So, talking a little bit more about, so what are you going to see on the ballot on November 4th, and we do have early voting that has started throughout the county, and so again, encourage you to get out and vote. But this is just a snapshot here of what you will see on the ballot on November 4th, or if you get out there during early voting. The important piece here is not just that, again, that this is the general obligation school bond for $65 million, as well as a renewal of the public school buildings mill levy. But what's important to also point out is that ensuring that as you go to vote, that you turn your voting card, your ballot over, because it'll be on both sides. So that's going to be very important. And we've also worked with our county partners to ensure as folks are out voting that they also point that out. So I just want to make sure and point that out. But again, $65 million GO bond ask here, as well as the renewal of the public school buildings mill levy. So why are they necessary? Why are bonds necessary? They're really needed to ensure that we're keeping up with the growth and to preserve taxpayers' investments by repairing and maintaining our schools. As we receive our budget every year at the state level, we do not receive additional monies to be able to ensure that we're for new buildings, new kitchens, new playground structures, those type of things. And this is where these resources ensure that we have the dollars to be able to provide those resources, again, to our schools and our kiddos. And again, as I mentioned, the budget that we receive at the state level from the state is really to fund our day-to-day operations, our personnel, our maintenance of our buildings, right, when plumbing issues, et cetera. And so the GO bond, these dollars go above and beyond that, where we don't have the monies to be able to do those type of things and ensure that our kids, again, have quality learning environments. So I wanted to get into some of the projects that have been completed back in our last GO bond that was approved back in 2021. And again, as you can see here, several projects that were completed and ensured that, again, our kids have a great, safe learning environments. Just some examples here. We had renovations of interior walls, also looking at redesigning and reconstruction of the Field of Dreams softball dugouts, ADA accommodations for our students and community with disabilities to ensure they have equitable access. Also, our operations complex. If you haven't noticed, over on Toshiro, we've ensured that not only, as I mentioned earlier, that our kiddos need those learning environments, our personnel also need the resources and the tools to be able to provide those environments for our schools. And so another important piece that we've completed, phase 1 of the operations complex, to ensure that our operations personnel has the tools and the resources that they need to maintain our schools. Also, CTE centers. We've talked about technical education to ensure that our kids have pathways available to them as they're thinking about beyond graduation. And we've built 2 CTE centers over at Mesa Middle School as well as Oregon Mountain that have focused on the construction trade. So, very successful, and again, providing opportunities and pathways for our students throughout their educational experiences. And then security. Security is another thing that we continue to enhance with these dollars, and the community's been very clear in all of our budget surveys, our climate and culture survey, that we continue to prioritize security and safety at our schools. And as you can see, we've completed several security projects such as fencing around some of our elementaries and several of our campuses as well. Some of the projects that are still in process with the dollars that were approved back in 2021 are things such as new roofs and HVAC systems, right? Those are the things that only last so long, and so our roofs are getting, several of our roofs getting repaired, our air conditioning systems also being upgraded and over at Hermosa Heights. We also have phase 2, I just mentioned our operations complex, to be able to ensure that we have quality shops for our welding, our plumbing, electrical, our grounds teams, our painters, again, to ensure that our personnel and our team has the tools and resources that they need to ensure they continue to support our schools. Also, solar panels at the operations annex. That's another piece that we're also looking at renewable energy solutions with these dollars. So that's phase 2 of the operations complex that's being completed with the dollars from back in 2021. The last piece here is also Zia Middle School, looking at our parent drop-off and bus lane redesign to make that a more efficient process there over at Zia. But the point here, as you can see, these dollars, we make them stretch as much as possible to try and support as many of our priorities that we have across the districts. I talked about some of the other carryover projects. The other one is kitchen remodels over at Highland, at Lynn. Also, Cesar Chavez, a roof there as well. So these carryover projects, unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because these are projects that we had planned to complete with our 2021 bonds, but due to the fact that, especially post-COVID, a large increase in materials, wages, et cetera, that we weren't able to bring these projects to completion. So these projects are being carried over to this bond cycle as well. So we want to make sure that we also ensure that we are doing what we say we were going to do, but again, that we need these additional dollars to be able to do that as well and bring these projects to completion. So I want to talk a little bit about the bond process. So how do we get here, or how do we get to the point that we identify how we need to use these dollars? So we start off with, first of all, looking at ensuring that we meet with our principals, that we talk to them about what are their priorities, what is it that they need, what are some of the things that we want to bring forward. Then we have a bond advisory committee that really is comprised of our parents. We have principals, central office staff. Some of our board members are involved in that. Then our principals submit their requests, right? What they feel is the priorities that they've identified. Then we looked at what carryover projects, what are the projects that we still need to bring to completion, and then we identify also district priorities that we have. For example, we have a lot of HVAC and roofing priorities that we need to ensure that we need to bring to the top of that list to ensure that we have safe environments for our kids. Then those priorities and those asks are vetted through the committee, and then that bond, those recommendations are then presented to the board for their approval. Once we have board approval, then we establish a blue ribbon committee, which then champions the efforts in ensuring that we get the word out, that we are communicating with our families, with our community on the importance of this, and really champion to ensure that we get this out there in our community and talk about the importance of why these dollars are going to be needed to ensure that, again, we have quality learning environments for our students. So some of the carryover projects that I mentioned earlier, just wanted to give an idea of what the cost is as we're looking at this, as we're prioritizing these projects. So for example, you look at Cesar Chavez roof at a 2.1 million, the phase 2 of our operations annex, kitchen remodel. So again, when you look at the cost of this, it is something that we need to consider in seeing when we look at the $65 million, what is it that we're going to be able to prioritize to ensure that we get our return on investment. So these are some examples here. Also, some of the other things that these dollars will be used for is our Title IX, to ensure that we are meeting the requirements of Title IX across all of our high schools. And we've already identified some areas where we need to start being able to renovate, to enhance, and also even just to build from scratch some of these facilities. So, for example, looking at modular restrooms and changing facilities at our high schools, such as Mayfield, Las Cruces, and Organ Mountain. Also over at Organ Mountain restroom facilities at Organ Mountain and Las Cruces for girls track, boys track, baseball, and then also high school baseball over at Cruces. And then a changing facility that's needed over at Las Cruces for our girls high school wrestling, to renovate also existing space to create a dedicated girls locker room specifically for that. So again, ensuring that we are meeting the needs, not only the needs, but also the requirements of Title IX, and ensuring that we have equitable facilities across our district. Some of the other pieces here, some of the remodels and renovations over at Sierra, some restrooms, nurses suite over at Doña Ana that are needed, again, that are high on the priority list. The other, a very big priority of this bond vote and these bond resources will also be Mayfield High School. Mayfield High School is our next big project here in our district in renovating and moving forward. Mayfield High School was built back in the 1950s. The building is in need of it's beyond repair. It really is time to renovate. And so we're excited about that build. And so $20 million would be prioritized from these bond dollars to go to ensure that we're able to start that phase 1 of this build. And the important piece of this is that on the state side, we do have an opportunity to leverage dollars or to request dollars for the state to be able to fund. Right now, the funding split is a 43% on the state side. So the state we would apply for 43% of the dollars that it would cost to renovate Mayfield High School at a price tag of around a little bit over $200 million. And so that means that we would be able to leverage approximately $86 million from the state, state funding. On the district side, what that means for us is about $114 million. So along with this $20 million and some also strategic financing on our end to ensure that as we have any carryover dollars or cost savings anywhere, that also gets allocated to Mayfield to be able to start that phase 1 piece of this, and then start being able to pull from that state funding. That's going to be very important in this build. So again, I wanted just to mention that Mayfield, again, is our next major build. This is a high priority in our bond and beyond our bond, again, as we look at our financing as well. Some of the heating, cooling, and roofing we've identified over at Zia, Tomba, MacArthur, looking at HVAC, roofing, and then the price tag on those. So again, I talked about costs, right, and they've really increased. The other thing I forgot to mention also in the previous slide is, our last build, which was Las Cruces High School, took about 9 years. So we're looking at this is about a 9-year project with Mayfield. But the other piece to this is the funding split. Back then, when we renovated Las Cruces High School, it was approximately 36% on the district side. So there was a lot less commitment of dollars on our side and more on the state side. Unfortunately, that's changed. Legislatively, that has changed. But again, we're looking at ensuring that we get this, that we bring this to completion. I talked about some playground structures, very important, looking at Alameda, Cesar Chavez, MacArthur, Sonoma, in need of playground structures. We live in a desert. We want to make sure our kiddos are able to, as they go out, that important time that they need for the brain research is very clear. Our kids need those breaks and those recreational type breaks that are so important to learning, and these structures will be able to help maintain shade so our kiddos are able to utilize those structures. And then again, shade structures over at Sonoma and MacArthur, but specifically playground structures, the actual playground structure at over 5 of our elementaries as well. Safety and security. I talked about how we've used some of the dollars back from 2021 to enhance our security, and that continues. So we are looking to prioritize the district-wide access safety to ensure that every one of our exterior doors in our schools are only accessed by a key card, again, to ensure that we are enhancing our security across our district. And in this case, every school would benefit from this project, not just certain, but the goal is to ensure that every school benefits by that security enhancement. Also looking at Vista Middle School, a wall to enclose the student access will control gates. Again, security enhancement there at Vista, as well as University Hills to enhance their existing safety vestibule, which is so important, right, to have that buffer between outside and inside access to the building. And so these are some of the safety enhancements that we've identified and prioritizing as part of these bond dollars. The other piece that's going to be important is also, like anytime you're doing these type of projects, that we have a contingency. And right now we're anticipating about a $6 million contingency to be able to ensure that we're able to respond when costs are changing, projects are changing, and we have the dollars to be able to bring these projects to fruition. Our goal is to not have carryover projects, and that is our goal again this year with this bond vote. The mill levy. Talk a little bit about the mill levy. So the mill levy is an existing tax that supports LCPS, and this is a renewal of that tax. Again, every school benefits from this piece. As you can see here, this is on a 6-year cycle, so it's back again. This could possibly mean another $10 million for our school district to be able to fund things such as new classrooms, cafeterias, school improvements, playgrounds, technology upgrades. That's another important piece that we ensure that we continue to have, our technology access to all of our kids across our district, and also just renovation projects to enhance our learning experience. And this one, again, will not increase the current school tax rate. So the tax rate remains the same, and so that's where, again, we're asking the community to go vote and looking at approval for this. Some of the examples of what these mill levy dollars have funded across our district. We funded new furniture for several of our schools, music instruments. We are one of the top districts here in the state with regards to not only activities but our music programs. We have top-notch programs in ensuring that our kids have, again, the resources, the instruments, the materials that they need, as well as our teachers. And then also looking at some of the things that we funded as HVAC and roofing, which is a constant need across our district in all of our buildings. And then just wanted to give an example again, making it clear that our tax rate has remained steady across, for several years, from 2021 when the last time that this was, approved and was brought back to the community. As you can see, it has remained at $9.36 per home evaluation. So calculating again, so you get a better view of what does that mean? What does that look like? So when you look at $9.36 per $1,000 of taxable value, for example, if you have a home that's assessed at $100,000, that means about $25.74 a month. As you can see here, at 85 cents a day, a home assessed at $300,000. We're looking at $2.60 a day at $78 a month. The one thing to make clear is that the school district does not set the taxable value of your home or our homes. That is set by the county. Our piece, the piece that's important, is that the taxable rate does not change. Now, your home value may change, but not the tax rate. Just want to make that clear. And so for about, in some cases, less than a cup, a coffee over at Starbucks, you're supporting the future of our students. So just wanted to bring that forward and make it, get more clarity around that. So again, early voting has started since October the 7th. It runs through November the 1st. And election day again is November 4th. Again, when you're at the polls, as I mentioned before, remember our students, this really is an ask of our community to invest in the future of our kids. I also want to mention that, as in finance, for the community to ensure that they can depend on us being fiscally responsible, our finance division has received several awards and just recognition is the word I'm looking for, of how we're using our dollars and how we're being fiscally responsible. But again, this is about our kids, about their future, and not just the future of our kiddos, but also the future of our community. So again, we'll open it up to any questions. I know we have some folks online, and if there's any questions, we'll answer, but it doesn't look like we have any questions at this point. I want to thank everyone for attending. I appreciate your time. And again, please go out and vote. Our kids are depending on you. Thank you very much.